Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Thank you for tuning in. This week's video, we're gonna be doing a little bit more work on Mike's Nissan R32 Skyline GTR. We're gonna be installing an oil filter relocation kit. Now, if you're an owner of an R32 GTR, this is something you're probably gonna wanna do to your car for two reasons. One, if you're a do-it-yourselfer like we are, oil changes on this car are a pain in the ass. The reason why is they installed the oil filter up underneath the intake plenum, and it's just a real pain to get to. By installing this relocation kit, it puts the filter over by the boost controller, which is much easier and more convenient if you're doing the oil changes yourself. The second reason why you're going to do this is the RB26 has a major Achilles heel, and that is the oil pump. It's known to fail, and the design of the engine is such that part of the oil pump is in the oil pan. So when it does fail, the oil leaks back into the oil pan and you have no clue that your engine is getting oil starvation until it seizes on you. This oil filter relocation kit actually has 3 ports on it, so Mike can install an aftermarket oil pressure and oil temp sensor for this particular car. Now, yes, the car does have an oil pressure gauge, but it's notoriously inaccurate and is based on some computations within the ECU. So by getting an aftermarket gauge, we're getting the actual values of the oil pressure and temp. But now that you know why we're doing this, let's get working. Before we get started, I want to do what I do in all of my other videos where I show you how to work on cars, and that is walk you through everything you're going to need to get this project done. That way, if this is something you want to do to your car, you're going to know everything you need before you get started, and you never find yourself in that situation where you've maybe drained the oil and you find that you need either a part or a tool, and you're making that emergency call to all your buddies trying to find a ride to either Home Depot or Pep Boys or something to get whatever it is you need. So to start off, what you're going to need is just your basic toolkit. Now this is Craftsman. For those of you that have been following me for a while, you know I love Craftsman. I've been using them for quite a while. That whole no questions asked tool replacement policy is absolutely worth it, and I've used it a couple times. Now the other thing you're going to need is something you might not already have in your kit, and if you have an R32 GTR, I heavily recommend getting these, and this is the Megan Racing low profile race ramps. Now the reason why you need these is the R32 sits a little bit low and it's hard to get a hydraulic jack underneath it to jack it up. And then also that front lip sits so low, a lot of other ramps have too much of an angle and it won't clear. These were the first ramps I found that are actually sit low enough that you can actually drive the car up onto it without the bumper scraping, and it gives you enough clearance to get a hydraulic jack underneath the car to get it in the air. Plus they come apart, so if you're doing something simple, you can get this part out of the way and you have a little extra space. Now, of course, aside from that, you are gonna need the actual oil filter relocation kit itself. Now, we went with Greddy because, well, it's the most common, easy one to find, and it's a known name that we all know and trust. Now, this is what I was talking about here. See, this is the oil filter relocation kit for the top piece. See how it's got these different bolts right here? These are the ports I was talking about that when Mike is ready to install his aftermarket oil pressure and temp gauge, this is where it will plug in. Now, the other thing you're gonna need to know is that this particular oil filter relocation kit has a different size oil filter than the stock GTR. So you're gonna wanna find the proper oil filter for this kit. It doesn't always come with one. Mike went ahead and ordered up the proper one when he ordered this kit. He got the Greddy one, which as you can see is 13901103 is the part number. So if you do get this oil filter relocation kit, don't count on there being a filter. You'll probably have to get one yourself. The other thing that we're probably gonna do, since how we're dropping the oil anyways, is let's just go ahead and do a full oil change. Mike decided to go with liquid moly. Now I'm gonna be honest, don't have a lot of experience with this oil, but from what I hear, it's very good oil, but it's also very expensive oil. So there's about 3 different oils it seems like the GTR community likes to use. This is one, like I said, this is the upper end, it's very expensive. The one I used when I had my R32 GTR was Ineos. That's been my favorite oil so far. I've used it in all of my Supras, my R32 GTR, my S2000, all of those. And it says it's the #1 oil in Japan, and it probably is for a reason. The other brand a lot of people like to use is Royal Purple. A lot of people seem to like it, but I just have no experience with it. But that's pretty much everything you're gonna need to get this job done. So as you can see, it's gonna be a very simple, easy job. So if you don't have a lot of experience working on the car yourself and you kind of want to get started on becoming your own mechanic, this is going to be a great first project for you because there's really not a lot of issues that you can damage your car as long as you're paying attention to make sure that there's no oil leaks when you're done with the installation. Yep. One more thing before we get started that I forgot to mention before, and that is everything that I show in this video will be listed in the description down below. So if there's a job you need to do to your car, go ahead and check the description down below. I'm gonna have a list of every tool and part I used. So if you're gonna do this job, you're gonna know everything you're gonna need beforehand. Also, if you see anything on that list that you don't have in your kit or you need, I will have links to where you can get it. So also if you're looking for the Greedy Oil Filter Relocation Kit, or you just see another tool I have, it'll all be there for you. Now we're gonna go ahead and get started by taking off the oil filter. Now there's a number of ways you can do this just based on personal preference. Some people like to drain the oil first. That's perfectly fine to do. I'm gonna take the oil filter off first because it doesn't really make a difference because it sits higher than the drain plug on the oil pan, so it doesn't really make a difference. And to be honest, it's probably the biggest pain in the ass of this particular job. So we're gonna go ahead and get started on that. First thing you're gonna need to do is take out your oil dipstick because it's gonna get in the way of getting the filter out of the way. You just kind of have to fish your arm all the way down in here and reach it. And hopefully it's loose enough that I can just get it off easily. And there's a lot of wires and tubes I'm trying not to mess up. And we're lucky, the person who did the oil change on this before was very smart and knows that you only have to tighten it hand tight. Now this is gonna get messy. There's just nothing you can do about it because there's oil in the oil filter. Ah, nice. Ah. Come on, you son of a bitch. All right, there we go. Actually, I did pretty darn good. Yeah, definitely dripped a little oil there. Oh, looks like I missed the catch can. All right, so that is now clear. And we will start by kind of cleaning up that area. You want a nice clean surface to make the relocation kit too, because if it doesn't, you could end up with a leak and then you have to go through this all over again. Now that we got the oil filter out, we're gonna go ahead and put the base plate on the block, which means when we're done with that, we're almost halfway done, which is why I said this is a very quick and easy job to do. Just as a couple notes though before we put this on the block. One, you may be tempted to attach the hoses early to kind of make things a little easier for you in the future. Just let you know that's not going to work. The reason why is this center piece here spins because it's threaded, and that's where it bolts to the block as if it was the actual oil filter itself. So you're not going to be able to do that. Two, these fittings tend to come a little loose from the factory, not counting this one of course, but this one is. So you're going to want to make sure all these are tight before you install, as well as these different plugs here. So we're going to go ahead and get started with that. Just to let you know, this one right here is a 22 millimeter. And then the big one on the center that we'll have to worry about when we're actually installing it to the engine, looks like it's about a 25 millimeter, but it needs to be deep. We actually don't have one. Fortunately, Mike did have an impact set. This is a 1 1/16. Seems to be a good enough size that it'll work. So we'll go ahead and get this all dialed in and then installed on the car. So we got all of the fittings tightened on the base plate, and we're just pretty much putting a little bit of oil on all the oil rings to make sure we get a good seal, and we're pretty much ready to go. I'm gonna go ahead and let Mike do this part since how it's his car and he gets the honor of doing the install himself. One thing we are gonna do though is when we do install this base plate, we're gonna leave it loose for a little while because we're not 100% sure which direction we're gonna clock this bottom nipple. And so by leaving it loose, it'll be able to spin on the car, and that way we can get everything locked down properly. So filling things around, I think what we're gonna do is we're gonna lock in the base plate against the block with the secondary nipple at the 12 o'clock position, because I think that'll work correctly. I mean, this is a much smaller handle. Like I said, I only want like a partial turn.
There you go. On there?
Ah, now I feel good about it being tight.
Okay, cool.
So yeah, if you're gonna do that, looks like you need, like I said, this is a 1 1/16, so it worked. It's probably gonna be a metric. You're going a small handle ratchet to get in there. There's some rubber hose. You just kind of commit, push them out of the way. I wanted about a quarter turn, which is what I got, which means I'm happy. I think it's on there nice and tight. Next, what we're gonna do is I'm actually gonna back up. I'm gonna go ahead and attach these hoses. Okay, so I have now confirmed that the longer hose goes to what would be the outside nipples. The shorter hose goes to the inside or slash middle. So pretty much working in this tight space. What I'm gonna do is install the hoses first on the block and then hopefully install them here on the actual base plate that'll attach here to the strut base. This one. Now, as you can see, I routed what will be the part that goes to the center between these hoses right here, and then the outer one kind of on the outside here. All right, so now we've got the hoses attached to the plate that's attached to the block. Now we're gonna try and get them onto the base plate and bolt it in. That was really a lot more of a pain than I anticipated it being. They really are a tight hose and there's not a lot of room to work down there. Best bet is you just kind of feed them on there and then just kind of wiggle and push, and hopefully it causes them to flex enough that they'll fit on. So, but they're on there now, they're locked down. Time to install this base plate. Don't forget to, on your pedestal, also tighten down these ports if you're not using them at the moment. If you're installing sensors, go ahead and install those now. This is gonna be a pain in the ass. All right. There you go. All right, you're locked in. Yep, you're good. What's up? Yes, yes it is. So, can we loosen this and spin it? There's a Phillips head right there. See how there's a Phillips head right here? Yeah. If I can loosen that, then I might. Nope, that did it.
Oh, I don't know if I have one.
That's because we have that charger on. All right, now that everything's all done, we've put some fresh oil in it. Just checking to make sure there's no leaks. I think we're okie dokie. And there it is, the full install of the Greedy Oil Filter Relocation Kit on the Nissan R32 Skyline GTR. I'm sure Mike's super happy because this is the last difficult oil change he's ever gonna have to do on this car. From here on out, it's just the drain bolt at the bottom and the oil filter's right there in your face. It's also gonna be really fun because now that we got the oil filter relocation kit, we now have the ports so we can install an aftermarket oil pressure gauge and temp gauge that is coming in the future, so make sure you stay tuned. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, go hit that thumbs up button to let me know. It does help the channel out a lot. If you'd like to see more automotive, particularly GTR content in the future, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. You can also follow me on all forms of social media, which include Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and TikTok, and I'll leave links to all those in the description down below. If you'd like to support the shop, I do have the JD Archer shop. If you go to jdarcher.bigcartel.com, you can see a limited selection of hats, t-shirts, and hoodies I've designed that are for sale. Also, just to remind you, as I did say at the beginning of the video, all of the parts and tools that we're using in this video will be listed in the description down below, along with links to where you can get them. So if this is a job you want to do on your Skyline, you can make sure you have everything you need before you get started. Also, if you have any questions or you feel there's anything I've missed in this video, go ahead and post in the comment section down below. I will respond to you. I thank you all for watching, and until next time, forget everything else, focus on the finish line.